I welcome you all in the part 2 video of study of the technique employed in the elucidation of the biosynthetic pathways, or in general sense we can say monitoring of the biosynthetic pathways. So this is our syllabus. We are covering this topic, utilization of the radioactive isotopes in the investigation of the biogenetic study. So in our syllabus we have a radioactive isotopes in detail. Okay, so far we have covered this technique, that is the tracer technique, in which we use a different type of radioactive isotope depending upon the secondary metabolites. We have already covered this. Please watch the previous video. Now, how to use these radioactive isotopes? Yes, there are different basic steps are in. So first of all, we need a labeled compound, that we need a radioactive isotope. Second, yes, we have to incorporate that compound into the tissue system. Third, separation or isolation of that labeled compound from the tissue system. And the last, determination of the nature of the metabolites in various biochemical fractions. Means we have to determine the nature of the different type of metabolites. So these four are the crucial steps in the tracer techniques. Let's repeat again. First of all, we will prepare the labeled isotope, then we will incorporate into the tissue system, then we will separate it out, then we will determine it. Very simple. So the first step is to preparation of this labeled compound. How we will prepare this labeled compound? Yes, it is prepared by using radioactive isotopes. For example, 14C, 3S, 32P, 131 iodine, very important, and 60 cobalt are used. And here is their detail. So you have to remember this table also. Cobalt, chlorine, iodine, then hydrogen, carbon, these are very commonly used. Now next step, introduction of this labeled compound into the plant tissue system. How you will do that? Very simple. We have different methods for that: root feeding, stem feeding, direct injection, infiltration, or you can say wick feeding, floating method, spray technique. So first is the root feeding. So as the name indicate, in this method the roots, because we know the roots are the biosynthetic sites and they are highly preferred method for the incorporation of this radioactive element into the plant. And how we will do that? In this type of experiment we will cultivate plant. There is a word missing here, you can write down, hydroponically. Just see this image, you will clear all your doubts about the hydroponics. These are the newer techniques that we are using nowadays. Have you got it or not? Yes, hydroponics are nothing but this is the new technique, growing plant without soil. Now some of you might surprise, how we will grow plant without soil? Yes, it is possible. We use water and we will supply each and every nutrient to the water and will grow plant without soil. This is the new technique. Hydroponics is the name. Look at this. When I go to the Google and you will write this, it is a type of horticulture in which a method of growing plants usually grow without soil by using a mineral nutrient solutions in an aqueous solvent. Okay, very simple. So in the root feeding method, we generally plants are cultivated in hydroponics. Okay, and then we will add our radioactive element to that particular solution. What happens? This radioactive element get incorporated into the plant tissue system and we will monitor them. Very simple. The second method is the stem feeding. In this case, what we will do, the substrate can be administered or the radioactive element can be administered through the cut ends of the stem immersed in the solution. We will do stem cutting, nothing, very simple. Direct injection method. So yes, we will use micro syringe. What will happen? We will use our radioactive element or radioactive isotope and inject it into the plant with the help of micro syringe. Next is the wick feeding method. This is another important method. So what happens? When it is desired to carry out feeding on the plant root in soil or other spot without disturbing the root, so wick feeding is appreciable. So whenever it is desired that we cannot disrupt the root or we cannot disrupt the soil, so wick feeding is practiced. So in what happen in this method, we will just a thread is drawn through the stem of the plant, which is then dipped into radioactive solution. So for better understanding of this wick feeding, just watch this photograph. So first of all, what you have to do, the first step into this wick feeding method is make sure that your plant is ready to pot it with a particular drainage hole inside your pot. The second step, take your plant outside the workbench of the garden shed in this way. And this is the rope that is used as a wick. Gather extra soil and extra pot water and a wick. You need a extra pot for the wick. Then in this way you will put, just see this, soak your wick and water in a particular nutrient media, or you can say a particular solution in this case, or a fertilizer you can also use. Then stick the sharp end of the pencil through the shoelace, or you can using the thread or the candle wick you are using in this way. So lift the plant from its pot and you will add your wick over here. Okay, so what you will do, you will put your wick inside your pot. Okay, in this way this wick is passed through this pot and you will put out your plant, and we will, in this way you will put your wick by the roots. Okay, here in this. So this plant, this wick is basically in touch with the root portion. Now what you will do, you will put a particular, suppose in this case you are using a water. So what does this wick do? Whenever this plant material dries, it will carry this water to this plant, to the root portion, and it will not dry. So this is a simple illustration of the wicking method. So a thread is drawn from the stem, which is then dipped into a radioactive solution. Here you are using radioactive solution. Okay. So next method is the very simple in floating method. When a small amount of the material is available, floating method is used. In this method, leaf, disc or chopped leaf are floated into a particular substrate solution. And the spray method, in which the compounds which have been absorbed are sprayed on the, generally on the plant. Now you have seen, you have prepared the labeled compound, incorporated in third step in the separation and isolation. So depending upon the nature of the drug and its sources, different method of extraction is employed. For example, if you have a soft tissue, you will use maceration infusion. If you have alcohol containing drug, you will use a slightly poorer solvent. And you use fractional crystallization, partition column chromatography are also used for this separation and the purification purpose. And lastly, determination of the nature of metabolites. So how you will detect or you will assay the radioactively labeled compound. So simply use different type of instruments, like we have a Ziegler-Muller counter is used. Scintillation or the liquid scintillation counter is used. Okay, for the determination of the radioactive isotope. So this type of instrument you will use for the proper monitoring. Apart from this, you will also go for the NMR or the auto radiography. And we have already completed this spectroscopy in a brief. So I hope you remember this. So I hope this will give a brief idea about the utilization of this radioactive isotope in the investigation of the biogenetic studies. So thank you for your patience in listening. In the last, I acknowledge all the sources I have used to prepare this video tutorial. So thank you.